What's going on, everybody? It is your boy, Chris, man. I am here at the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. It is Wednesday, May 22nd, 2024. Beautiful day out here in Minnesota. My name is Chris Drummond. I am a freelance sports reporter, also a casino host and proprietor of this podcast, Work Hard, Play Harder, where we bring individuals on, not only in my profession, which is journalism, but in other people's professions. And we talk about their why, of why they do what they do, and who they are outside of the occupation. I have a special guest that's going to be coming on with me today. Her name is Brie Jackson. She is the NBC News Washington correspondent. She has been so for the past few years. She graduated from the University of Maryland, so she is a terrapin. We're going to talk to her about her why, her college choice, some of her favorite stories that she likes that she has done in her career. Maybe get some favorite things out of her as well. So without any further ado, I bring to you the wonderful, talented Brie Jackson.
Hey, Chris.
Hey, good afternoon, Brie. How we doing today?
Oh,
All right, all right. Glad to see you. Just want to say thank you for hopping on my podcast. I really do appreciate it. Work hard, play harder. How's your week been going?
it's been pretty good. I mean, it's only Wednesday, but it's been pretty good.
Awesome to hear. No doubt about it. I know it's but you're midway through the week, Brie. You're midway through the week. I don't know if you're Monday through Friday, but it's midway through the week for you, for sure.
Yep.
Okay. Here's what I want to do. I want to reiterate to you why I brought you on before I start peppering you with all these questions. Okay. So pretty much the reason why I wanted you to come on is I'm a sport journalist out here based in Minnesota. I love reaching out to people who are also in the journalism field and listening to their stories of why they do what they do. Everyone has a story to tell. Everyone's story is unique. There's never one story that's the same of how we joined this industry. And there's also things that you battle through this industry, right? Where there's good, bad, ugly, indifferent, all of that. And I just want to hear your story of how you came into it and came about. Obviously, you do great work out there in Washington, D.C., as I've watched a few of your clips on YouTube, and we'll talk about some of your favorite stories that you have done. And I also know that you are pretty much DC, Maryland. That's what you are, right? You graduated with a master's and a bachelor from the University of Maryland. So you out there. That's your town, that's your city, that's your area. You know that very well. There's no question about it. It's a beautiful area to be. I've been there a few times. So I just wanted to come on here and not only give you your flowers, but also give a platform to kind of get to know you and know your story.
Well, yeah, no, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate it, and I'm grateful to be able to talk with you.
Absolutely. So I normally get into the first question with all of my guests that I have on here and ask them, what is their why? Why do you do what you do? What made you want to be a journalist? Was there somebody that you saw on TV and said, I wanted to do like that? Or did you fall into it by accident where that some of the people on this platform have talked about doing? Or did you always know you wanted to be a journalist? Talk to me about your why.
It's funny. It's a mix of everything you just said. So I think it's a mix of. So my mom was an author, so she wrote a book about the Gullah Geechee culture in the Carolinas and Georgia. So she was a journalist. She was a professor at Howard University, but in some ways she was a journalist as well because of the research she did, and she also worked with National Geographic. So that way, I did in some ways see someone doing it that made me think, oh, like maybe it's in me too. Maybe it's just part of my family, like part of the family type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like getting as I grew up, I just always was a good writer. I enjoyed writing. So when I was in college, I went to the University of Maryland for undergrad, and I'd even help some of my teammates write their papers because I could knock out a paper in like no time. So I
Man,
sometimes I
okay.
help them write papers. And I think, like any college student, you don't always know like what you want to, or, not every college student knows what they want to do when they leave. So Chrissy Winter Scott, she's a sports journalist here in DC. She
Yep.
was one of the University of Maryland when I was there. And she took me under her wing and let me follow her around for a while, thinking that maybe I'd get into sports broadcasting because, you know, I was a good writer. I had that sports background. And then I watched Christy do it. Like Christy would coach us during the week, and then at night also go do a show, you know, in DC, in the DC area. So I did get a chance to watch her do that. But then I guess to say that I fell into it because sports journalism wasn't necessarily for me. I love playing sports, I love watching sports, but
Yeah.
it wasn't my lane. And I think I realized I kind of wanted to, I saw the power of journalism in so many ways. And I know, like, in particular now, we every part of journalism has power, whether it's sports journalism, local news has power to help inform the public. And I think that's really that third part you came in where you talked about falling into it came in because during my first actual like reporting job, I just found myself drawn into covering like the city council meetings and things like that because I realized, you know, this is where like what's happening at these city council meetings, it's important because it's what's impacting people's everyday lives. But like the fact that not a lot of people are at those city council meetings other than like a handful of mainly newspaper people and then those really just adamant local people that, you know, go to those. So I think I fell into the political journalism side partly because I just realized how much of an impact you have when you can inform the public about things that are happening in their community, good or bad. You can inform them about things that are happening in their community that they may not have been aware of unless, you know, you did a story on it. So, and that was probably a long answer, but it was a mix of all three things that you brought up.
Brie, I'm all for it. I love it. I love to hear you speak and talk about it. That's no problem. And was that in Salisbury? Was that in Salisbury, Maryland? Where was your first job at?
It was WBOC in Salisbury, Maryland.
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So that's awesome. You talked about University of Maryland. So you're a terrapin. That's what you are. True and true. Were there any other schools that could have persuaded you from going to University of Maryland? Was Georgetown, well, ever a school that you wanted to go to?
Well, I didn't, looking back, I don't really think so. Like, I don't think, yeah, there wasn't really, I even fell into Maryland, to be honest. I ended up going there pretty late in the game. I think I was actually put on the wait list. I was just for like academics, I was put on the wait list and I was heading to a different school. And then I remember being at an AAU basketball game and getting a phone call in the hotel room from Chris Weller, who was the coach at the time, offering me a scholarship to play at Maryland. We're like, okay, well, I wasn't able to get in, you know, through just my academics and SAT scores alone, but like this is a guaranteed like admission. So that's so I mean, and I love Maryland. Like, you know, my dad, who I'm really close to, lives 20 minutes from the campus. So that meant a lot to me. Like my mom passed away when I was young. My dad raised me and my brother and my sister. I'm the youngest, so I definitely wanted to be close to him. So no, I guess to answer your question, I mean, I was headed to another school and, you know, fate and God sent me somewhere else. And I never looked back. You know, I went to Maryland and never have to say, being that you're in Minnesota, I got to give a shout out to Diamond Miller on the Lynx, just an amazing women's basketball player there. I'm way older than Diamond, but I had a chance to meet her when she was at the University of Maryland a couple of years ago. Just an amazing, so shout out to her.
No doubt. I'm a huge basketball fan. As we will talk later into this conversation, we would definitely get into sports talk because we can't do a podcast without it. That's for sure. No question. On here with Brie Jackson, NBC News Washington correspondent on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I want to ask you some favorite things right now, though, Brie, and you give me the 411 off of these questions of what some of your favorite things are. Are you with me?
Cool.
All right, let's rock with it. Okay, here we go. Favorite meal you like to cook?
Oh, omelets, egg omelets.
Okay, all right. Now I've seen you do your thing as far as running. Like you are a runner. Like you can run some miles. So and obviously you're a terrific athlete. Me, it's hard to run if a ball is not in my hand. But you do your thing. How often do you do like marathons and stuff like that?
I try to do a marathon. I mean, with a busy work schedule, it turns out being maybe like at least once a year. I try to get a marathon in. I probably won't get one in this year just because of the election. Because usually I try to do a fall marathon and we'll be quite busy. But yeah, I do. I try to do at least one marathon a year, and then I run probably 3 to 4 times a week. You know, just
Mm.
it almost therapeutic for me. I just love, getting out, clearing my head, and going for a good run.
Absolutely, I'm with you on that. Listen, I respect all runners. I really do. I know for me, when I did a 5K last November, it was cold. I was thinking about the cold a little bit too much out here, and obviously in Minnesota, it gets really cold. As you know, in Washington, it can get cold too. But it was my first time doing a 5K, and that was only 3 miles. And I was like, "Where's the finish line?" Because I'm limping towards the finish line on that. It's just hard for me to run without a ball in my hand or something kind of dribbling or some kind of catching, something like that. That's just me. I
Get
feel
that. Okay. Congratulations on doing them. Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I plan on doing it again at some point. I don't know when, but at some point I plan on doing another one because it is therapeutic. You listen to some music. I normally have my headphones on when I run, and I like to listen to a lot of music, especially new music. Get a chance to do that. Next favorite question is favorite concerts you've ever attended.
Oh man, there's so many. I think Pink puts on an amazing performance. I had a chance to see her. I've seen her a couple of times,
Yep.
but recently here in DC, and then I saw her actually a couple of months after that in Louisville, Kentucky, just because I loved watching her so much. So that was an amazing concert. I went to the Lizzo concert when she had the Thomas Jefferson flute from the National Archives. So that was pretty amazing, or Library of Congress. So that was pretty amazing to see that happen. But
Hmm.
unique kind of experiences I've had with, it's one of those unexpected um, concerts that I went to. I was in Amsterdam. I had just run the Berlin Marathon, and my wife and I went to Amsterdam after the marathon, and we're just at a bar, and we meet these two American guys, and they're like, "What are you doing tonight?" And we're just like, "Oh, we don't have any plans. We're just hanging." They're like, "Are you going to the 50 Cent concert? Like, he's here in Amsterdam. He's kicking off his final lap tour or final whatever it's called." And we're
Right.
just so we go online real quick, find some like pit seats, and it was just an amazing concert. Like I think 50 came out, like Busta Rhymes opened for him, and then I
Yep.
think 50 probably like 2 hours at least. I mean, I wasn't planning on going, but it was an amazing concert. So I think all of those have just been good experiences.
Absolutely. 50 and Buster came here in September. I didn't get a chance to go see him, but I knew a couple friends that did. Pink is coming here actually in October, and she's coming here for 2 shows. So she's coming here Thursday and Friday. I will have a chance to go see the Thursday show in October. So I plan on doing that for sure. I'll have to let you know how that goes for sure, and keep in touch with you on that. Next favorite thing is favorite place you've ever traveled to.
Well, favorite place I've ever traveled to. Uh, Man, um, I'd say one of the first places that comes to mind is Thailand.
Wow.
Think it was and I went with my dad. Interestingly, I went with my dad. It was for a marathon. It was for like it was a marathon I found online. It was like $30 to sign up for. So I
Wow.
said, well, and so it was in Chiang Mai, and it started at like, because traffic there gets so bad, so it started at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So it was just like dark outside, and like, I mean, it wasn't a huge race. It's not like the tens of thousands that you see at some of the big races here. It was like a smaller race, but it was, I don't know, there was something almost like out of body and spiritual about it, because you're running late at night, like it's dark
Right.
outside, but there was this temple that was like on the hill that was almost like glowing, because I think it was like made out of gold, or at least had gold around it. So you can almost like just see it, like while you're running, you see it on top of the hill, like glowing, and it was kind of guiding you along the way. So I thought that was really cool. Like, in Chiang Mai is very different from Bangkok. So like we went to Chiang Mai, which is more rural and kind of like, you got good street food there. And then after that, which is similar to like a New York or just like a, just really populated, like happening city. So that was a really cool experience, just to go to Thailand and then see the different parts of Thailand to really get a chance to experience the culture there.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing, Brie. I don't think I've ever had anybody on the podcast that has went to Thailand. You're the first that I've heard that went there. So it's pretty awesome. It's pretty cool.
I was gonna say, can I add one more thing though? My
Sure.
all-time, I guess, now that I think about it, because that was for me. I probably won't go back to Thailand, but a place that I try to go every year is Little Rock, Arkansas, which isn't like on everyone's radar. But man, I mean, it's got, downtown Little Rock's got great breweries. It has like a hip downtown area. And I mean, it is a cool place. And if you like hiking, it has like, some good trails and running trails there. So I'm actually going there in a couple of weeks, but I typically go to Little Rock, Arkansas at least once a year. So it's one of my favorite places, not just because I have family there, but it's a beautiful area to go to.
Okay, I'm gonna keep that in mind. If I ever go there, I'm gonna have to hit you up for like some recommendations on places to go for sure. Because I've never been to Arkansas before. So yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
I got you covered.
I appreciate that, Bree, no doubt. Now, it's a sports question. Favorite sport you like to watch on TV? Favorite sport you like to see in person? It could be the same sport.
Ooh, I love soccer. I love going to soccer games. I think it's just they have the energy and the crowds at soccer games are amazing. When it comes so that's in person. When it comes to watching on TV, I'm a huge, basketball fan, in particular college basketball, March Madness. I've been glued to the TV for the WNBA. I love. Or I wish she would have stayed at Maryland before she was at LSU. She was at Maryland. I wish she would have stayed at the University of Maryland, but I mean, she did her thing wherever she goes, and so I love watching the WNBA. I love watching soccer, and I'm happy other people are starting to get on board with the WNBA. I'm a longtime fan.
Huge fan of the WNBA. Basketball is probably my number one sport. Obviously, football second. I do love soccer as well. I came from Atlanta prior to coming to Minnesota. So the Atlanta United games were always something I love to go to in the MLS. And then also WNBA, we have the Atlanta Dream out there prior to coming out here to the Minnesota Lynx. Some of my favorite players have been Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird. Now with the new players have obviously coming in with Cameron Brink of the Sparks, Camilla and Angel out there with the Sky. Alyssa Thomas is an absolute beast out there in Connecticut. And probably my favorite player is on the Aces with Aja Wilson. No question about it. So I'm a huge fan of WNBA games, and I plan on going to a lot more this upcoming summer for sure.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Last of the favorite questions before I get to my next one is favorite restaurant to go to there in DC.
Ooh, favorite restaurant, man. That's tough. I'm not a huge foodie. Like I love a home cooked breakfast. I'm trying to think of. I mean, I think you can't go wrong with like bourbon steak. I mean that they service good food. I mean, whether you want steak or you want, the fries there the duck fries are are amazing.
Okay.
So I have to give a shout out to I mean, bourbon steak. I think you're not ever going to have a bad meal there. Great service, great drinks. So that would be my go-to. But I'm more of a home cooked meal person.
Okay, I feel that. Now, to me, when I went out there for the few times I have, went out there. My brother used to do, a younger brother who was in college at the time, did a co-op out there in Baltimore, Maryland. Y'all got a lot of 7-Ups out there in Baltimore, Maryland. I went to the Silver Springs, Maryland area. They have a very nice area out there, Silver Springs. Went to a Nationals game out there. But Bree, this was the first time I went out there and actually tried crab cakes and oysters and clams for the first time. I don't know what the hell is wrong with the oysters. I ain't even gonna lie to you. I am not an oyster fan at all, or clams. That is not me. Crab cakes wasn't that bad, But the oysters, I can't do that no more. Are you that, Brie? Do you like oysters and clams like that?
A huge oyster fan. I'm more of like I do love I mean I think Maryland we're known for like our crabs. You put a little Old Bay on it. I'm good for a couple of crabs. I'm not one to sit there. I think it's a lot of work for a little bit of meat. So I prefer I prefer the crab leg. And then also like some but I think yeah, I'm not a huge oyster fan. Like I know we have some great places around, but like my go-to would be, shrimp and crab legs.
I feel you on that. I'm more of a country person myself, Bree. Give me a 2-piece and a biscuit. That's what I'm good with. I'm good with something like that, like Popeyes, or something where I like steak too. Now, steak is good with some potatoes, some broccoli. That's what I like. But when we went and visited my younger brother there, we went to a restaurant that specializes in seafood. I wanted to be different. I never tried oysters before. I never ever say I like something unless or dislike something unless I try it, but never again. I was like, oh, hell no, y'all got to bring me something else. Y'all got to do something else. So, yeah, I thought I'd throw that story out to you before I get to the next question, which is about your job. You being a news correspondent, I wonder, what do you do on a day-to-day basis? We're both journalists. So when you wake up every day in this field, it's never the same. Every day is different. It's different news, it's different stories going on. Sometimes it's breaking news. It's just something different happen every single day. So what is your day-to-day routine that you do? Do you pick the stories? Is the stories picked for you? What time do you shut it down? What time do you get off? Explain to what your day-to-day process is.
Oh, are you ready for this? I do the morning hits for NBC, and so my day starts. I usually get into the office around like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, and
Ooh.
yeah, so my story's picked for me. Unless it's breaking news, my story's picked for me. So usually, I wake up, I kind of just check my email, and before I go to sleep, I check my email to see if like they've already kind of sent out what the story's going to be or an idea of what the story is going to be. But usually it's whatever the big story was the night before, unless something develops overnight. So I get into the office. I ended up doing like writing a package, and then I usually I hit for early today. At my first hit for them is at 3:30 a.m. and then I hit for them again at 4 o'clock. And then once we hit 4:45, that's when I start doing kind of the rotation for all of the NBC affiliates. And so, like, usually at 4:45, I hit the DC station, WRC, and then I go to New York, do kind of like all the East Coast stations, make my way over to like Midwest, West Coast stations, and I just do that for either the main. We usually give them two stories, so we have like a main story of the day, or there's like what we call a crosstalk, which is a second story that we're offering that may not be the main package that we're doing. So usually I end up doing those hits. I do about 15 to 20 hits a day, from 3:30 in the morning to about 9:30.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and then I like to shut it down. Like after that, like it's funny because we would have this 10 o'clock call, and I don't know if my boss is hearing this. we, Everyone's getting on the call like all fresh and bright eyed because they woke up at like 7:30, 8 o'clock, and it's like everyone chit chatting about like whatever, and I'm like, man, I've been up since 1 o'clock, and I've been talking since 3:30. Like, we
Right.
got on.
Right. Let's get this on the road. Let's wrap this up. I feel you on that.
So, needless to say, I think my boss has recognized that. So I'm no longer on that 10 o'clock call because there's not a need for me to be there. But I guess I say that because usually, sometimes I come home, take a nap, and then try to go running or go to the gym after that nap. But then, like now with the summer or the weather getting warmer, sometimes I just try to leave straight from the office and go running right after work because it's just one of those things where like the later it gets, the hotter it is. So I definitely want to try. So either I'll try to go right after work if it's gonna get really hot, or if I'm really tired, I'll just go home, take a nap, and then try to like I'll drive to like an area that I know is like a well shaded area so that there's some like tree cover that I can run in. So it's thought out. Like usually I spend half the morning thinking about where I'm going to run once I get off of work.
I love that. I love it.
And then it's just mental health. It's a way to just, it's the way to get the day off. The day gets so busy. Like, the moment I walk into the office, we're busy. So it's like, at 8, 9 hours I'm in the office, it's like, I gotta decompress. And so I really just try to, relax, do something to just unwind. And then, so let's say, whether I go running before or after work, usually I get home and start to do like other things by like 1:30, 2 o'clock. And that's when I'll have like, if I have like meetings or like calls that I need to do, I try to do it around that time, like 3 o'clock or a little bit later.
Sure.
Just because it gives me time to still work out and then kind of unwind and then, have a conversation or, talk about whatever else. And then I try to like shut down around 4:30, 5 o'clock and spend time with family or because my wife works a normal schedule. So
Right.
hopefully she's home and we'll spend time together. And then usually around like 6:30, I try to like go into the bedroom and just unwind. And like that's when I just shut it off. Like my phone goes into sleep mode. And if I can fall asleep by like 7:30, then I'm usually good. Like 7:30 to 1:30, like to 1 and 1:30 is usually the time that I sleep. So I don't know. And then I just try to make it up on the weekend. Whatever sleep I don't get during the week, I try to make it up on the weekend.
I know that's right. On an off day, here talking with Brie Jackson, NBC News correspondent out of Washington, D.C. on the Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. I love that answer to that question because a lot of the times when people graduate from college, some of these kids, now I can call them kids myself because I've been out of college for a little bit. They come and they work some of the craziest hours, right? You work in night side, which is basically a 2 a.m. to a 10 a.m. kind of shift, right? And they need to know it's hard to get into a routine like that when you've never done a routine like that. It takes a while for people to get used to that, right? So I'm happy for that. And you mentioned something else that I want to kind of talk about, but I got a bonus question for you first. I want to know what kind of advice would you give someone that's possibly wanting to come into the business or maybe a graduate or maybe an intern that wants to do what you do? Hey, Brie, I want to do what you do. What advice would you give them to propel them on their way?
I'd say, I think, obviously the field that you're going in, it's hard work, and hard work comes in different forms. But I would say, definitely just be a good worker. But then I think the most important thing is just be a good person, be a kind person, be a trustworthy person, be a person of your word. I think for me, that's been the most, that's what's helped me to be successful in this field is that I'm a straight shooter, whether people like it or not, I'm a straight shooter. And I think, but they also know, I'm kind, I'm kind, I'm a good person. And I think, what you want is that when your name comes up, you want people to be excited to talk about you. Like, oh my gosh, I love Chris. Chris is amazing. That's what you want. You don't want people to be like, oh yeah, oh, they're okay. Or, when they give a short answer of like, oh yeah, I know Chris, something like that shows a sign of that they're not excited about you. I think to me, I just want to, work hard, have fun, and almost bring that team mentality that I grew up, playing sports to the workplace where it's like, we're going to go out here, we're going to work hard on these stories, but we're going to have fun. And I think,
Absolutely.
So I don't know, I think people respect that. So I think, it's work hard. The advice is to work hard, but also just be kind and be a good person along the way because it is a small business. So if you screw someone over, in your early market, there's a good chance you may meet them again down the road. They're going to remember how you treated them. You always hear stories of people in uncertain markets being mean to other people. And it's just you don't want to be that person. So just, work hard and be a good person. And I think that will help more than people realize.
Absolutely. Like, people see you on the TV, right? They'll see you on the TV or they'll see you doing the news and they'll be like, I want to do that. I want to do what she's doing. But they don't understand what you do behind the scenes to get ready for that. Like we just talked about you getting up early in the morning. That's pretty tough to get up at 1 something in the morning, period. I mean, whatever profession you do. But you also have a team of people that help you out to do what you do, right? You never do it alone in this business. There's people that helps you along the way with your hard work as well. It's something that you have to take into account when you want to join the journalism field as well. Being kind is definitely something that you want to do, and being real, being authentic. Don't try to be somebody else. Be you. Be the best version of you, and whatever that may be. People want to try to idolize people because they're in those positions. But if you be the best version of you, you don't need to idolize anybody else because your time will come when you eventually be in that position. Because it goes back to your hard work statement. It goes back to being kind. It goes back to not burning bridges in this industry. Because like you said, that's very important. You definitely don't want to burn a bridge because this industry is about not just about what you have and not just about what you do, but it's also about who you know. No question. No question about it. And I definitely have learned that in my short time being in this industry as well. Mental health, Brie, is something that is very important. For me, it is. I know for a lot of journalists, it is. Mental health is something that has affected us all, especially recently. Some of the words that you hear are burnout, underpaid, overworked. Those are some words that are kind of synonymous with our industry. How do you maintain your good mental health and not experience burnout? I'm sure you probably had some stages in your career where you probably had that come to Jesus moment, right? Where you had that burnout moment. How do you maintain good mental health and also a work-life balance, being a wife of that nature?
Yeah, I think I find something that's sacred to you that you don't, uh, that you set boundaries for. And I think for me, so it's something I think I mentioned earlier how like to go running and to work out is therapeutic for me. It is a release. It is a mental health thing for me, you know? So I set aside time for that no matter what. And so it's it's to the point where, like if someone asks me to do something, I may say, yeah, I'll think about, well, how does how does this, if it's not something pressing like breaking news, like, does this interfere with my sacred time, like, or like, there would be no calling unless it's a breaking news story. There's no calling Brie when she's out like on a run or something like that. Like, give me my space, respect that, because it's just like when you're a journalist, you have to find that you have
Absolutely.
space that's going to keep that you can kind of have your moment to decompress, address your mental health and your needs, which I mean, if you're not at if you're not at your best, you can't, be the best journalist that you want to be. So I don't know, things that I think I just think I think setting boundaries is key. And then you also mentioned like finding that work life balance. I've struggled with that, and it is something that in particular with I wasn't always on this shift that I'm on now, and so I think that's something that we have to be intentional about and say I'm setting aside, just like when it comes to setting boundaries, I'm setting aside this time for family where there's nothing, there's no email checking, there's no whatever else. This is my time with family. I think, or this is just my time for me, or whatever it is. I think that's important. And I'm trying to think if there's any. Oh, and then I think another thing that sometimes, like I think, kind of is undervalued. It's just having friends that are outside of the business, so that you're not always talking about business.
Absolutely. Yes.
The women I go running with on the weekends, we are all in different fields, but like and we all support each other. We're all in some way a very competitive field. Like two of them are lawyers, another one works for the Federal Reserve. So like we all have busy schedules, but we're not, when we come together, it's not like we're just talking about work, and what this person did in the office or what stories happened. Like we'll talk about work at the very beginning of the conversation, saying, how'd your week go? But it's just having people that are outside of the business, outside of your business that can, or your industry, that can kind of help support you when it comes to, like, if you need professional advice, but they're not trying to compete with you and they want to see you succeed.
Sure.
But you can also just kind of like, like learn new things from. You're not just around people that are like, kind of doing the same thing that you're doing, So I don't know. I think just being around people with different perspectives also just helps with mental health and everything. I think sometimes early on, I just found myself, hanging out with work people all the time and going out with work people, especially when you're in smaller markets, and nothing's wrong with that, but it's just kind of like, it can be exhausting if you don't have a separate life outside of just work, work, work.
Right, absolutely, because you're hearing about it all the time. You're around those same work people, hearing about those same work situations all the time. I'm glad you said that because, and it's not said enough, it is okay to have friends outside of your specialized occupation or what you do. It's a must for me because I love sports to the core. I'm a sports journalist. I get that. I talk to people, athletes, high school, college. I write stories, but it's okay to talk to people who are doctors. It's okay to talk to people who work in grocery stores. It's okay to talk to people that's in different occupations because I just don't want to hear about sports all the damn time. I'm just going to be honest with you, Brie. I want to hear about something else. I love to listen to other people's stories about their lives and what they do outside of what I do, because not only does it take a break from what you do, but you also, it's once again, it's therapeutic. It's like, okay, I'm more than what I am on TV. You're more than just what you are as a correspondent, right? You're more than that. So it's good to talk and seek other friends in different places as well. So I love that. I love that answer. I really do. We've came to the portion of the show now where is this or that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw two things at you, and I want you to answer by saying this or that, picking one of them, okay? Are you with me? Okay, you seem a little nervous. Don't be nervous. I promise you, it's going to be fun. Here we go. Popeyes or KFC?
Oh, Popeyes.
Brie, we're going to be best friends. We are going to be best friends. That you've already solidified that already. I love it. We're off to a great start. Spades or dominoes?
Ooh, that's tough. Spades.
Ooh, okay. All right. Are you good?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind because I'm a good spades player too, Brie. I'm pretty competitive as well, just to let you know. Just throwing it out there. Okay. All right. Here we go. Next one is chicken wing flavors, barbecue and lemon pepper.
Ooh, what's the bar? Because in DC, my favorite wings are mumbo sauce wings. So it's kind of like a barbecue wing, but it's the mumbo sauce. If it's the mumbo sauce, I'll go with mumbo sauce.
Okay, we can do that. Let's go with the mumbo sauce. Do you like your wings wet or dry?
I like them dry, and then I like that to be able to dip them in whatever sauce.
Okay. Now, do you like bone-in wings or boneless?
Oh, it's only bone in, man.
Okay, you like boneless is not for you.
That's not a wing.
Okay. I feel it. People say that's a chicken nugget. That's what people say. It's a chicken nugget. So I feel that. All right. These next four questions have to do with which concert would you rather go to? So here we go. First one is, which concert would you rather go to? Brandy or Monica?
Ooh, Monica.
Okay, I like that. Here we go. Which concert would you rather attend? Mariah Carey or Mary J. Blige?
Ooh, Mary J. Blige.
Okay. Which concert would you rather go to? Kendrick Lamar or Drake?
Oh no, Drake.
Okay. These are hard questions. I know it. Which concert would you rather go to? Janet Jackson or Whitney Houston?
Oh man, that's hard. I mean, Whitney, man. Whitney is just an amazing voice, and so yeah, Whitney.
Okay. I like how definitive you was. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Baseball or hockey?
Hockey.
Okay. Which sport would you rather watch on TV? Would you rather watch football or would you rather watch track and field?
I'd say track and field.
Ooh, okay. All right. Here we go. I like that. I do. Okay. Let me ask you this. Are you a dessert person?
Oh yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so what I'm going to do now is throw out four desserts, Brie. Four desserts of categories. One of these you can never eat again. You have to cancel one of them. Okay. So here we go. The first category is candy. That means chocolate or gelatin. Doesn't matter which one. The second one is cakes. Doesn't matter what cake, whether it's pound cake, bundt cake, cupcake, don't matter. Okay. The third one is going to be ice cream. The fourth one is going to be cookies. Which one are you going to get rid of?
Ice cream.
Wow. Really? Okay. Ice cream. Wow. Brie, we on the ends of the spectrum on that one. I would have chose candy. I feel it.
I love music. Yeah, like ice cream it is for me. Ice cream's gotta go.
Okay. I feel that. I feel that. All right. Here we go. Two more of the this or that. Okay. Which sport would you rather play? Badminton or bowling?
Bowling.
Are you a good bowler?
Okay.
Okay. All right. You know, if I ever come out to DC, Bree, we're gonna have to test this. I'm just letting you know. What'd you say?
I said we'll do bowling and spades.
Definitely spades. There's no question about that. Bowling, you might get me. You might just get me in bowling because bowling, I'm so. But spades, okay. Spades, you're gonna have some competition. That's all I'm gonna say on that one. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, I like it. I like it. Last one of the this or that goes back to music. Which artist would you rather see in concert? Would you rather see Tyrese or Tank?
Ooh, Tyrese.
Okay, all right. You was pretty good on this or that. I like that, Bree. I like that. If Bree wasn't in journalism, what career choice would Bree have pursued and why?
Oh. Ugh. Maybe teaching. I think teaching, yeah, 'cause I think it's like I think a teacher. I don't know what subject, but I think teacher. I do enjoy being around kids, and just kind of, I think kids are funny. you know.
They
Yeah.
definitely are. Yes, they are. No question. I substitute teach for my part time, so I definitely understand that. What level of teaching would you do? Would you do early elementary or adolescent?
Yeah, that's mm, maybe like elementary.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Like once
Okay.
we go in high school, they start getting a little too mouthy for me.
Yeah, you're right about that. There's no question. This question kind of came up in my mind about a minute or so ago, and I want to ask you because it's going back to what we talked about as far as setting boundaries. Now you seem like a very confident person. I'm a very confident person as well, but you also put the work in, which allows you to exude that confidence. When people normally get in this industry, they're in improvement mode, right? They're in improvement mode because of the companies that hire them. They want to show that they made the right choice. When do you think, or do you ever think it's okay to say no? Like, no to an assignment, but maybe substitute it for something else. When do you think it's a good time for you to say no?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things where I don't know if there's like a moment in your career, or because I think even there are probably times in. I remember there were times in my very first market where I had to stand up for myself, and I think it's like when you feel in your heart that something is not right or you're not being treated fairly, you have to speak up because I think it goes back to something that like my dad said to me early on is like you teach people how to treat you, and I think if you never say no, then they are going to try to take advantage of you and walk all over you. If you
Sure.
always if you always say no, then they're going to, you'll miss out on opportunities. So I think it's finding a balance, so that you don't feel taken advantage of. And I think that just comes with time and experience, because I think early on everyone's trying to prove themselves, but you're also trying to figure out, like, you're looking around, and you don't know better. So you don't know what's right. You don't even know when you're being taken advantage of, because you're like, maybe this is just the way that it is,
Right.
But
Right.
with time, like, if you're really paying attention and you're not taking things personally, because I just try not to take things personally and think about, oh, well, they're doing it to me, just me. Like, I try to look around and see, like, is this how they're treating everyone? And if
Right.
not, that's when you have to be like, this is not right. But I don't know. I think it depends on the situation.
Okay.
But I would say I'm in your gut that you just feel as though you're not being treated fairly. Speak up and say, no, this is not right.
Absolutely. I love asking that question because you get all different kind of answers for sure. For me personally, I agree with you. I think it is a situational kind of thing. I know for me personally, I had to stand up for myself being in this market because I was told that at one point my writing was below average. And I said, okay, I can understand that. I said, that's no problem, sir. I understand. And I want to get better. So how do I take the necessary steps to get better? That was actually my rebuttal.
Awesome.
So his rebuttal was, we don't have the necessary tools to help you here. So my rebuttal to that was, okay, so if you don't have the necessary tools to help me, then how do you expect me to improve as a writer? How do you expect me to improve like that?
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't have a rebuttal. So that for me showed, okay, it's time for me to kind of pivot and do something else. Because if you're not helping me to be a writer, you're just saying that to say that, well, then you got to have some merit behind what you're saying, right? Like, I can't call you dumb and just say you dumb without explaining why you dumb. Well, you know what I mean? So it doesn't make any sense to do that. So at that point, I had to transition and go to a different editor in chief, to a different publication, which that editor spoke his mind, spoke his words. The previous one, this new one, has said nothing about my writing being below average. So I also think it has something to do with preference, as far as that as well. So, but once again, had I just accepted that and been like, oh, well, you know what? Maybe that's just how it goes. I mean, maybe they just don't have anything to get better. Then it would have just been like that. And you can't do that if you're trying to achieve a goal of continuing to grow as a person in this industry. You just can't do that. So I totally understand.
I love that your immediate response was, so how can I improve? It wasn't defensive. It was just like, well, what can I do to get better? Like, I want to learn, I want to get better. And I think that's
Mhm.
just that's awesome. Like, that's what people have to do.
Absolutely. Because in this industry, you're going to have people that says critical things of you. It's happened to every journalist, right? I'm no special to anybody else, but at the same time, I think what marks the character of a person is how you respond to things like that. You don't want to respond to things negatively at all. You want to try to take it in, because, like you said, this is not a personal attack. This is something that's what you're critiquing, that's what you feel. But you also have to understand, okay, if you can't advocate to me reasons on how to get better, or what exactly is below average, or what is poor, or what is not working, well, you have to understand that I have to challenge that, because I'm trying to get to a goal. And the goal is not only to produce great content, but I'm working for this publication or this station. I want to have great broadcasts. I want to have great stories. I want to tell great stories, right? So if the public is telling me when I'm out at grocery stores, oh, I love what you're doing, but my boss is telling me that you're below average, and you can't tell me what's below average or below this, I'm bewildered. I'm confused. I don't understand. You know what I mean? Like, we got to connect the dots. Where do we connect the dots at? So that was just my preference and how I went about that particular situation for sure. We have came to the final two questions. And now this next question is about Washington, D.C. I need some recommendations. I have been out there a couple of times, well, a few times, I should say. The next time I come out there, Brie, what is some things I should check out? Like, and let me tell you what I have checked out. I've been on the double-decker bus. The double-decker bus tour, I've been on that. So I've done that. I've been to a Nationals game. Haven't been to an Orioles game, but been to a Nationals game. And it is hot out there in D.C. When it gets hot, it cooks. It is hot. No question about it. So what is some other things I should do when I come back to D.C.?
Definitely go to a DC United game. Like, those are amazing games, the soccer games here. I mean, the stadium, there's not a bad seat in the house in that stadium. Any team could seat. If you just kind of want to chill and do something that's kind of like off the beaten path, I'd check out like they have like the National Arboretum here. So it's like a really pretty floral area. It has it's like it's gorgeous there, and you can just walk through there. There's different like different sections of it. So sometimes I go running there just to kind of just see like the different flowers, the different types of plants they have there, and they also have some really cool like statues there. What else to do in DC? Yeah, walk around Georgetown. I think it's kind of like the normal stuff to do. I guess now a lot of people are going down to the wharf now that that's been remodeled. That's like a really cool place to go to. I'm trying to think of what else to do. I mean, and if you're heading towards like that Baltimore area, definitely hit up like a Ravens game. I went to one last year, and I mean, just the crowds. Baltimore goes hard for the Ravens. So
yes, they do.
The energy, like even 2 hours before the game, you're just seeing people, like out in the streets, excited. So like that's a cool place to go to. But I don't know, there's so many different things to do. And I think there's I just maybe going to like, if you can do like one of the like every once in a while they have like the White House tours where you can do like they had the garden tour a couple of weeks ago. Like that's just something unique, that very DC, like like you can only get that here in DC. That you can go tour the White House garden and things like that. So I think, and that's like they open that up to the public, and I think they just give out a certain amount of tickets, but I mean it's a lot of tickets. It's just kind of when it opens up. So I don't know, I mean there's so many things to do, but I definitely would say like check out the Arboretum, go to a DC United's game, definitely hit up a Mystics game if you can. Definitely hit up a Mystics game, and then depending on what time of year, if you can go to a University of Maryland women's basketball game, go there too. But
I love it. Do you still go to University of Maryland games?
Last year I went to a couple of games. I went to the game where they played Iowa and saw Caitlin Clark in Iowa play. That was a really close game. Because I mean, I think about some of the people you named, because even when you named Alyssa Thomas, she went to Maryland. I mean, Maryland players like nobody's business, and I think they're always a fun team to watch. So even last year they kind of had like a mixed year. Like they still made the tournament, but it wasn't to the Maryland standard where they were known for going kind of deep into the tournament. But what I love about Coach Freeze is she comes back with a vengeance. Like she killed the portal over the summer. They recruited some of the top players. So next year, Maryland's team's going to be really good. So I'm excited. I'm going to try to get to some of the games next year.
Okay, I like that. Now, the last question I have for you is, what is some of the favorite stories that you have done so far in your career? And you can give me a couple of them and tell me why they were some of your favorite stories.
Okay, so most recently I did a story about, we went to South Carolina. We were in South Carolina for the Republican primary, but while we were there, we also did a story on the Gullah Geechee community and the impact that climate change has had on the community. And for those that don't know, it's just, Gullah Geechee people are descendants of slaves, and they just have this unique culture, unique language. They have the basket weaving. If you ever like going down the roads in South Carolina, you'll just see the seagrass baskets, and some of those sweetgrass baskets. I don't know. We were able to do a story there about the impact that climate change has had on the sea islands, because with the rising sea levels, it's threatening their way of life. And so I think for me, that was a personal story, because that was what my mom did her research on, over 30 years ago. And she passed away in a car accident, the islands, while she was doing her research, when I was 4. So I think for me, it was just kind of like a full circle moment of me being able to follow my mom's footsteps by doing, and continuing her work. So that was a story we did recently that I just was very personal to me, and I loved. I guess another story that we've done, because a lot of the stories that I do are political stories, and those aren't like necessarily, I mean, they're important, but they're not like favorite stories. It's like, some of it can be, just like, like controversial or things like that. So I don't know if that's necessarily a favorite story. I'm trying to think of stories that I've done in the past where, I don't know, I cover politics, but I love just heartwarming stories. I love success stories that, when people overcome odds, or people are having the best day of their life. Because sometimes, in particular when I was in local news, kind of doing general assignment stories, sometimes you're interviewing people on the worst day of their life, like something bad has happened. I just, those stories where it was like, this is the best day of my life, I'm so excited. Those are the ones, I really enjoyed being able to tell. But I haven't really been able to do those recently, because we've been so caught up in like, in politics. So
right.
Geechee climate stories is the one that definitely stands out to me for now.
I love that. And thank you for being transparent. Appreciate your honesty on that, obviously. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on to my Work Hard, Play Harder podcast. Is there anything else you would like to add about yourself? Maybe some advice that someone has gave you that you hold on dearly to, that you would like to add before we conclude?
Well, I just definitely want to thank you for having me on and talking sports and just talking life. It's been an enjoyable conversation. I really love this and that. But I just, kind of going back to some of the things we touched on, the best advice I can give is just work hard, be a good person, set some time aside for yourself, and be your number one advocate. Like, don't ever be afraid to stick up for yourself, stand up for yourself. And kind of be your own number one fan, because I think that's one of the key things it takes to succeed in this field, is that you just always have to have that, that person, that little voice in your head that's saying, you got this, don't give up. So that's all I can offer.
I love it, Brie. I really do. Once again, on here with Brie Jackson, the NBC News Washington, DC news correspondent. Thank you so much for your time. Enjoy the rest of your hump day, your Wednesday, and you and I will be in touch. When I touch down to DC, girl, Spades and the brewery are calling our names, okay?
All right. Thank you, Chris.
Take care now.